So we are continuing tonight with our amazing series in Rabbi Nachman's Wisdom, the Holy Sefer Sichot Haran, and we're doing tonight Torah Mem Zayin, Torah 47. And I think that this is a very appropriate teaching to be doing after the Yantiv, after Simchas Torah, after everything is over. Now there's a word from the Lubavitch Rebbe that after the whole is like the craziness. So then there's Yaakov Halach Ladarkei. Then there's something beautiful about going back to routine. There's something very beautiful about quiet times. There's something very beautiful about the fact that there's quiet times. I went from the Chasm Sefer. The Chasm Sefer says that after all of the Yamim Tovim, so there's a certain feeling of that, like we're missing the Heilige Tag, the holy days. And he said that the comfort, the Nechama, after the Yom Tov are over, is that after the Heilige Tag comes the Heilige Nacht, that the holy nights, that there's something so special about the fact that after all the holy days, after the days which are full of light and full of holiness, so then you have the winter, which is full of holy nights. And that there's something very special about nights. And I think I want to give a certain context to what it means, the Heilige Nachten, that there's something very special about night, that the night is a time of quiet. That what's really special about night is the fact that you're able to have a little bit of peace of mind. And that is the topic of tonight's class. This is the Rabbi Nachman's Torah tonight is all about peace of mind. Yeshiva Das, and how important it is to have Yeshiva Das. And like on a national level, this is true as well. That like for the past 2 years, we've been incredibly bothered, incredibly taken down by the fact that we're in the middle of war, and with the fact that we don't have hostages, and that our life is insane. Our life is completely upside down, and then finally in one day, everything is quiet. There's the hostages are back, the war is over, and it's. Now, what do we do with it? I remember the feeling, the first Mariv of after Yantiv. So it was such a strange feeling for me because every day in Shema Koleinu, so when I have all my personal prayers and all my personal requests, and I'm asking Hashem to help the Chatufim, and it was so weird to skip over that. It's like there's something like what now? What now? What are we pleading for next? What's the next Yeshua? What's the next Geula? And it's so strange, to not have this stress, to not have this pressure of we need the hostages back, so we need the war to end. So there's we need to replace that with something else. And the truth is that this is really what tonight's class is all about. That finally we're able to come to life from a place of peace of mind. And this is really, it's so amazing, it's so important, so critical to life to be able to have peace of mind. And imagine if life was always crazy. So it would be, we have lots of exciting stories, but if you wouldn't have the moments of quiet, if we wouldn't have time to really be at peace with ourselves, to be able to think things clearly, so then what would happen? Okay, so let's jump into it. So Rabbi Nachman says, a person needs to have a great merit. A person needs to be worthy. That to be able to calm himself down. We'll see exactly what he means. To sit with himself for an hour a day. To be able to regret anything that he should be regretting. Because not everybody merits to have time to sit with himself and to think things over. Was that the right thing to do? Was that the right thing to do? What should I be doing with my day? What should I be doing with my life? Am I making the right decisions? Because the day passes, and she simply doesn't have time. And sometimes you can have a reality that for his entire life goes by. And he never had a moment to think, a moment to just take a step back and said, hold on, what is this really? It's really a smart thing to do, and this is a crazy important thing. Now, specifically, what he's talking about is when he's talking about sha'achas b'yayim, to think about charatas. So he's talking in a code word over here. Really, he's referring to something called hitbodedut. Okay, really one of the greatest presence that Rabbeinu Nachman gave us is that this idea that you can talk to Hashem, that Hashem is always there for you, Hashem is always listening to you, Hashem is waiting for you to talk to Him, you should speak to Him like your best friend, and that is the greatest way to relate to Him. So when he spoke about what to do in his Beit, this is actually one of the things that he spoke about. One of the things that we should be doing when we're talking to God is to make an accounting of our lives, to make an accounting of what we did today, to speak it out with Hashem. Like this is like Hashem is your life coach. Hashem is your therapist. I have a class called Let Hashem Be Your Therapist. And the truth is that Hashem is everything. Hashem is also your therapist. He's also your life coach, and He's also your psychiatrist. He can manage heal mental illnesses greater than any medication can. And it's really awesome how much Hashem is there, that if you allow Him to be your coach, if you speak things out with Him, so He can actually give you amazing insight. And so this is one of the things that to think about, to speak out the things you did over the course of your day, over the course of your week, over the course of your lifetime. So that's one of the greatest things that Hisbodedus does for us. The fact that it allows us to just speak it out. You ever have this I just want to speak something out with you. I'm not asking your advice. I just need somebody to hash out things, hash out ideas with, and just to be able to hear it, the ideas bounce off somebody else, and so Hashem is the best bouncing board. Hashem is the best, and not only is Hashem the best bouncing board, but He's actually able to. Why don't you want your friends to give you advice? Because you feel like somebody else is telling you what to do. But the thing with Hashem is giving you advice. He's so awesome. He's so miraculous that when He gives you an idea, He makes you think like you thought of it yourself. There's not even an ego issue when Hashem is telling you what to do. So the opposite, we feel great. Wow, Hashem told me what to do today. I feel like we feel like we're being true to ourselves when we're allowing Hashem to talk to us. So this is when he's talking about speaking, having Yeshiva Das, having time to just have peace of mind, to be able to speak out, to regret the things, to think about our decisions, to think about our life moves. So he's talking about his Hisbodedus, and he's saying that this is the hardest thing. A person that finds time in the day to have his Hisbodedus, so he should know that he's lucky, because so many people are not so lucky to be able to have time to be able to just talk things through. And this is something on a very personal level. This is I felt like this is a real wake-up call, because this is one of my prime commitments for this coming year is to make a bigger effort to find time every single day to talk to Hashem, and I see that it's so difficult. It's so difficult. I can do anything else. I'd rather do anything else, and it's so hard to find the emotional energy to just have this Hisbodedus, to have this time to be able to talk to myself. So I want to start this discussion by just trying to understand, why is it so hard? Why? Rabbi Nachman starts this piece by explaining that a person needs a great schus, a person needs a great merit to be able to find time to talk to Hashem. Why is it so hard? He doesn't say this about putting on tefillin. It's not the biggest deal to put on tefillin. He doesn't say this about keeping Shabbos. He doesn't take this. There's so many things that. So do it. Okay, you'll do it. And for this, he said you need a very great merit to be able to do this, because he knows that there's some opposite energy. There's something not letting us do this. So what is this? What is this energy? Why is it really so hard? So I was thinking a couple of things. First of all, on a simple level. So this is probably the generic answer, is that. But it's true. It's also true. But I think there's things deeper than this. But I think the generic answer is because the more that something is important, the more that the Yetzer Hara wants to keep you away from it. And so because the Yetzer Hara knows that this is the greatest key to succeeding in life, so he will do anything. He will convince you that you don't have the energy. He will convince you that you don't have the time. He will convince you that it's not worth it. And so just because it's so awesome, there's a word from Ibn Nachman that whenever something is very, very awesome, so then the forces of evil are going to try to stop you. It's going to be the most miniot. It's going to be the most obstacles trying to hold you back from whatever it is that you want to do, because he knows that that's the thing, because that's the thing that's going to bring you to the top. So if there's one thing that will bring you to the top, so he's going to do everything to stop you from doing it. Okay, that's on a spiritual level, and there's certainly true. It's certainly true about that the forces of evil are trying to hold us away from talking to Hashem. But I think that there's also a psychological element as well. And that is, first of all, I think that there's a psychological obstacle between us and Hisbodedus, and that is that we don't feel like we accomplished something. We don't really feel like. I think that to a certain extent this is true about therapy as well. The people they have an issue going to therapy because what's the therapist going to do? What's the therapist going to tell me what did I do exactly? How did I spend? How can I show something for my money? How can I show something for my time? That what did I exactly do with this hour? And when we're looking back and how did I spend my time and how did I spend my money? So I don't feel like I really did something. With a lot of mitzvahs, it's very clear that Hashem said do this, I did it, and I can there's a box that I can check off the box, and then there's this whole area of life that there's no box to check off. And it's something just more delicate and something much more vague. That there is no. I can't really explain to you if this was helpful. I know that it was something, but what did I do exactly? Did I really come out with anything? Rabbi Nachman would tell people that you should do it even if you don't know what you're going to say, even if you have no idea what to do with your time, what to say to Hashem. There's awkward silences. The awkward silences in a date. So Rabbi Nachman says, what should you do when you have this awkward silence? You should just say, Ribbana Shalom, Ribbana Shalom, Master of the world. You can try that for a date too. Just say the guy's name over and over. No, don't do that. But with Hashem, it's good. That you can sometimes have these awkward silences. You're just saying. He says you can tell Hashem. He says, Hashem, I don't know what to say. Hashem, I'm at a loss for words. I feel so awkward. I mean, that you should say. That I tell people that is a good thing to say when you have an awkward silence. To just talk about how awkward it is. But let's say you're talking to Hashem for an hour. An hour is intense, but he actually told us Chassidim to do an hour. Let's say with 10 minutes. So let's say you're trying to do it for 10 minutes, and you didn't know what to say. So for 10 minutes, you said, Hashem, I don't know what to say. Okay. So then, after these 10 minutes, so then you think, what did I exactly do with it? Am I actually insane? I actually spent 10 minutes saying, I don't know what to say. That does not sound how rational people behave, right? So there's a psychological obstacle. There's a psychological thing holding us back that we don't really feel like we're accomplishing something. So that's also what makes it really, really difficult. But I think that the greatest thing which is holding us back, the greatest obstacle holding us from Hisbodedus is that it's actually hard. It's actually hard because the essence of Hisbodedus is to reach this level called Yeshiva Das, to reach this level of a higher consciousness. And it's really hard to reach that level of consciousness. And sometimes we think that I'd rather climb Mount Everest than to let go of my present consciousness and just to know that I need to change, to know that I'm expected, so to speak, to actually alter my brain without anything, just by thinking, but just by letting go and connecting to this higher level of connection. So it's to alter my consciousness is actually very, very difficult. So it makes a lot of sense that there's it's going to be a lot of antagonism inside of us every time that we tell ourselves, yes, I need to do this, I want to do this, but it's actually very hard because it's like somebody's is asking you to do the thing that it's the hardest thing in the world to do. So of course you're going to think of every excuse not to do it. Okay, so this is what I think these are the things that are actually holding us back. Is the first of all that the Yetzer Hara, and second of all the feeling of lack of accomplishment, and third of all it's actually very difficult. It's actually very difficult to alter our consciousness. Now, this idea of just accounting for ourselves. So this is not Rabbi Nachman's chiddush. This is not Rabbi Nachman's. He's not the first one to say this, and it's something which is mentioned in the Zohar. Zohar Kodesh talks about something called Marei de Chushbana. And it sounds like a Mussar thing, I remember when I was in Shiva, there was this book called Cheshbon HaNefesh. People would talk about Cheshbon HaNefesh, and it's usually associated with the Mussar movement, and they just to make an accounting, to have checklists and think, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, and it actually comes from the Zohar, the concept of being a person who does a cheshbon. And I think we gave a class about this once. It's based on the Medrash, based on the Gemara. It says in Parshas Chukas, it says, "Bo v'nachshuv cheshbono shel olam." Let's make a cheshbon. Let's make a cheshbon. Schar mitzvah keneged hafseda, schar havera keneged schar. Then just like, what am I gaining? What am I losing? You can make pros and cons of my life, and like this is something which really exists in Chazal. It's not a Rabbi Nachman's chiddush, and to have time to make time every day to have an accounting of my life. So the Zohar says that this is the only way. This is the only way to grow. And the truth is, this is really hinted to in something that we say every day in the morning. We say that because of Torah, so we make a bracha la'asek b'divrei Torah. And so there's an interesting thing that the word, it doesn't say to learn, it says la'asek. It says the word asek literally means business. To have our Torah business. Hashem commanded us to make a Torah business. And so the commentators explain that the word asek, the reason why the Torah uses the word for business when it comes to Torah is because you need to look at Torah like a business. You need to look at your spirituality like a business. And like if you're the CEO of a company and you don't make an accounting of your income and your expenses, so then you're very, very at fault. You're very, very irresponsible in your business. That it's if this is your business, then you should care. You should care if you're succeeding. If you're doing the same thing for 50 years and you're consistently losing money, so then you're just messed up. You're just really messed up. If you would really think the life is serious, so then you would check in every once in a while to see if to see how your money's doing, to see how much you're gaining, how much is actually succeeding. So this it's very obvious, it's very simple that we need to do this, and because his part of this is a way to be this Mari de Choshbana. So that's also part of the reason why it's like his part of this is the hardest thing. We see already by Paro. Paro, it says that he had this idea that when the first time the Moshe came to ask Paro to feed the Jewish people, so he said Tichba d'avoda al ha'am v'ayishu b'divrei shakar, that you need to make things harder. We need to work harder. We need to work them harder because when they have too much time on their hands, then they have these thoughts of, hey, maybe we should go free. Maybe we shouldn't be slaves. And so he knew that the secret to stop us from thinking about being free, the secret is to keep us busy. The secret is that if we have to work very hard, if we're caught up in the rat race of life, so then we won't have time to think about expanding, to think about succeeding, to think about what in the world we're doing with our lives. And this is something that Rabbi Nachman talks about elsewhere. Rabbi Nachman talks about this story called the Ben Melech, the Ben Shivcha She'eschalfu, that he has the story called the Exchange Children, that is a story about this prince, the prince and the daughter of the son of the maidservant. They were switched at birth, and then it's the job of the prince to be able to realize that he was switched at birth and to realize that he's actually supposed to be the king and to regain his kingship. And that's the whole narrative of the story. At the very end of the story, so in order to gain kingship, so he's given a test. And the test is that there's this strange, mysterious garden. And in this mysterious garden, so people report that you run into this garden and then suddenly you feel like you're being chased. And you run like you're completely afraid, and you ran out of this garden in chaos and fear, and nobody understands why they're being chased. Nobody understands what's so scary, and the test was, are you able to go peacefully in and out of this garden? Okay, so the commentators explain that this garden, this is life, and the greatest obstacle in life is this feeling of being chased. This feeling that people think that there's some race and somebody's chasing me and I need to just move forward and never stop to think, never stop to think in accounting, and it's so tragic that a person could go his entire life with this feeling of being chased, feeling that this is rat race, being told that you cannot stop until you have this kind of career and this kind of money and this kind of car and this kind of house, and then you get there and they say, okay, what was that? Why did I want this? Why was I running after this? Why did I need this degree? Why did I need this status? Right, and it got me nowhere. And like I don't understand. Who is the jerk who told me that I wanted this? Who convinced me of this idiocy? And this is a feeling of being chased. I don't know who's chasing me, but I know that I'm being pushed forward. And I think I've told you that my friend Dov Cohen, so he once told somebody that like he was trying to convince him to come to Israel for a year, and so the kid told him that I can't afford, I can't take a year out of my schedule because I'm going to fall behind. Because all my friends, they're advancing in their careers, I'm going to fall behind. I can't fall behind. So Dover told him that, when you're going the wrong direction, it's actually a good thing to fall behind. Everybody's going way ahead of you. They're all outrunning you, and then they're going to fall off the cliff quicker than you. So like it's very good to fall behind when you're going the wrong direction. This is mamish. The tragic part of life is that life feels like this rat race. We feel like we're being chased, and there's nothing that allows us to just take a moment to stop and think. Okay, and so Rabbi Nachman looks at this as like one of the critical tests of if a person is going to succeed in life, of being a king over himself, being a king over his life. That one of the clear tests of if a person has what it takes to succeed in life is that can you outsmart this made up, this fictitious chaos, this fictitious running, this chase that we all feel in life. So let's try to understand, let's try to define what is this Yishuv Hadas, that Rabbi Nachman is speaking about. So there's two things. First of all, we need to know what's das, and secondly, what does it mean that this das should be miyushav? It should sit down. Take our das tell our das to have a seat, to take a seat. So first of all, what is das? So in Kabbalah, so we talk about different parts of the brain, and we have part of our brain which is called Chachma. That's about acquiring information, and then there's another part of our brain which is called Bina. That's analytical thinking, and then das. So what's das? So das is two things. First of all, das is about decision making. Okay, meaning that das is the part of our psyche that ultimately, after I've put on the table all of the pros and cons of the different possibilities, so das is the one that actually decides which side is better. Okay, that's the first thing. That's the first thing about das. And the second thing about das, that's what we use the term in Chazal, shikol das. Shikol. The shikol means like to weigh options. So das is about decision making. The other thing about das, as the Tanya writes, is that das is about connecting to something. Meaning that when my relationship to something is only a relationship with Chachma, so the relationship is a bit superficial. Whereas when I'm connected to something from a deeper place, so when I really, it's part of who I am, it's part of my core belief, then it's no longer just a piece of information in my head, then it's part of who I am. That's when I'm connected on the level of das. Okay, so this element of das, of being truly connected to things, of being able to make a decision from a real place, so this is what's called das. In DBT, they call this wise mind. If any of you, if you've heard of this, that this part of our brain is about intellectual, and part of our brain is emotional, and then there's the middle, you could call it the middle, which is a wise mind, which is just to just not do things just because it makes sense, not to do something just because it feels right, but to know that it's truly right, from a place of wisdom, that it's right, from a place that it's really the right thing to do. So that's like, it's from a center, and that requires being grounded. That requires that I'm able to show up from a place of that I have a say. That I'm not just being bombarded by information, I'm not just being bombarded by possibilities, and that there's a me who's making a decision, and this, the Rav Kook writes that is this week's parsha. So we talk about the creation of man, and the most amazing thing about man is that it says B'Tselem Elokim, that Hashem was created in God's image. And so Rav Kook writes, based on Rishonim, that what does it mean that we're created in God's image? It means that we have free will. That the Nekudas HaBechira, that is what makes us godly, because there's no other being in the entire creation that has free will. It's only God and us. God has free will. God is not forced to do anything, and we're not forced to do anything. And that's what it means, the word B'Tselem Elokim. So this element of being in control, this element that I'm actually the one calling the shots, I'm actually the one making decisions. So this is my Tzelem Elokim. This is my godly spark. And to be aware of this godly spark, it requires introspection. Because most people are living their entire lives on autopilot. Most people are just living their entire lives just because they're reacting and not acting. Sure. Go.
I noticed in the davening in Yom Kippur, we actually ask Hashem, we say, may it be your will, shelo echet ha'od. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if we actually have agency, that's not, it's like a weird prayer. It's like, we don't have to ask God not to sin, like if we're capable of choosing not to.
Right.
It doesn't have to be something that we ask for his involvement. I mean, we could ask for his help, but like...
We're always asking for his help. And that's the thing, that there's always like a dance. There's always a dance between how much we're in power. We spoke about this and before Sichot. We talk about that how there's that the lulav represents that I'm in control, and the sukkah represents that Hashem is in control. And there's always this like there's two ways to look at things, and we have to know that we're 100% in control, and at the same time we have to know that Hashem is completely in control. And I know that that's a contradiction, and that's the paradox of life. And so we're saying that even when we're in control, we're saying, Hashem, I know that you can do anything. I know that you could even when I'm running to eat the cheeseburger, I know that you could suddenly remind me that there's some other, there's something on Netflix that I wanted to watch, and I have to give up on my cheeseburger, and so you can remind you can close the cheeseburger store, or you can make my cheeseburger smell so bad that I'm not going to want to eat it. Hashem, just you can do anything. You can save me from others, and so that even though we know that we're in control, we know that Hashem can totally run the world. Okay, So being aware that we are in control. So this is the thing that allows us. This is the thing that allows us to be godly, and this is the thing that connects us to the depths of our soul. We're actually elevating our consciousness when we're connected to being in control. That we're more being present. We're more being ourselves, and we're no longer just reacting, but we're actually acting. And that's why to be a tzaddik, you need to be in control. There's a famous passage from the Kuzari. That the king of the Khuzars asked the Chacham, describe the tzaddik, describe the tzaddik, and so he says the tzaddik. So he's extremely aware of all of the different areas of the country, and he's very aware of his enemies, and he's very aware of how to be charismatic, and he knows how to delineate control, how to delineate tasks to different people, and he knows how to organize things, and he knows how to be on the defense. He knows to be on the offense, and he goes on and on. And the king says, "I don't understand. You're describing to me a ruler. I asked you to describe to me the tzaddik." And the Chacham answers, "HaMoshel hu HaTzadik." The person who is the ruler, he is the tzaddik. The person, if you want to be a righteous person, you need to know how to be a ruler. And then it's the exact same energy to be in control. Because that's what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik is someone who's in control. So the person who's in touch with an Nekudos HaBechira, a person who's in touch with the fact that I'm calling the shots and I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do. So that's what it takes to be a tzaddik. So really, this place of das, connecting to das, requires that I'm very, very aware of the fact that I am the one running my life. That's what it means. That's what it means to have das. That's the first step. That's the first step of Yishuv Das. What's the second step? That this das needs to be miyushav. It needs to be sitting. It needs to be sitting. So what does it mean that das should be miyushav? So the first thing is that we're talking about before, that you could have a person who has a lot of das, but nobody can hear him. Did you see this picture? Maybe you showed this. The world from the perspective of the lulav, and everything's blurry, right? and so you can imagine that, like, if you're like, even if you have das, even if you have das, but like if there's so much wind, like if you're on the phone and like there's like heavy winds, right? So you could be talking you could be saying something very beautiful. You could say the most profound statement. You could sing the most beautiful song, but like there's so much wind that just like nothing gets through. Nothing gets through. So the first thing is that the winds need to settle. Okay, the das to be miushav is that you could have amazing das, but there's so much in the middle, so much static that it doesn't get through. It doesn't get through. So the first thing of Yeshiva Das is just to be able to just quiet down all the clutter, to quiet down all of the static, to make sure that we're able to just to be in touch with themselves. That's why Rabbi Nachman said that the time to do is better to do is at night. That's why Rabbi Nachman said that, because night, this is how we started the class. The night is about quiet. Night, the Heilig Nachten is that to have time to have quiet, to be able to have quiet time. Somebody I know, so she once shared this meme that when people ask me what I like to do, so I'm not sure what to say. I'm a mom. I like silence and trips to the bathroom alone. I told this somebody, he told me that he was in jail, and he told me that in jail the only time that you're alone is in the bathroom. So like, yeah, I like silence. Like just like silence is the one thing that without silence we'll never get anywhere. So Rabbi Nachman says that the time to do is better to do is specifically at night, because at night it's easier to have silence. And he said that's why you should go to the forest, because if you go to the marketplace, even if there's nobody there, even if it's completely silent, but there's something in the energy, there's something in the air. The fact that the entire day it was hustling and bustling. So there's an energy of hustle and bustle in the air, and it's gonna mess with your peace of mind. You won't be able to find silence. There's an echo from all the music playing during the day, and you need to find some place that is just free of static, free of noise, and that's the value of doing his part of this in the forest. So the first thing about Yeshiva Das, the first thing about Yeshiva Das is that to be able to quiet the static, to be able to be in touch with Adas, they should be able to speak through. But there's another thing, and that's something that Rabbi Nachman continues over here. He says, and that's why a person he says should make sure to take time to ask himself, am I spending my time in a good way? Because we are so lacking Yeshiva Das, so even when you do have a moment of inspiration, it doesn't last. And immediately, as soon as he has this inspiration, so the inspiration passes. So he says that the problem of not having Yeshiva Das is that it's very transient, it's very passing, and it doesn't last. That the Yeshiva Das doesn't last. So the second nakuda of having Das Miyushav is that a person who has Das Miyushav, has Yeshiva Das, is a person that is not wishy-washy. Is a person that their das is very, very steady. It's a person that their das is very, very sturdy. It's very in their place. And this is something that the Baal HaTanya talks about as well. That the Baal HaTanya says that this is really the difference between a tzaddik and a benini. That a tzaddik, so they constantly want to do good. They're in charge, and they don't want to do bad. And a benini, so they like to do good, but they also like to do bad. And that's what he said. That's all of us. We love being close to Hashem, and we also love doing other stuff which is not close to Hashem. And like we have this. That's why we have this inner battle. But he writes that even beninim, there's moments of elevation. There's moments of inspiration, and he says that specifically when we say Shema. Something that's good to know, that there's a possibility that there's a moment of Shema has this amazing potential that you can reach a consciousness that I never want to do an Avera again. I never want to do anything that's going to bring me away from you, Hashem. That when we say Hashem Echad, so we should meditate on the fact that Hashem, that I know that the only thing that's important is you. I know that the only thing that's real is you. I know that the only thing that's going to give me real satisfaction is you. And for a moment we can have that. For a moment we can have that clarity. For a moment we can have that real connection. And it's even though we walk out of davening and we go on with our life, and it's like we forget about it. And he says, but it doesn't take away from how precious that moment was. I heard once the similar thing about this. It says that by a bris, anybody who's by a bris, so all your averas go away. All your averas go away. That every time you buy a bris, Eliyahu Navi comes and you become clean. You become clean. And so the commentaries ask, like really, like that's it. If you're just you're a serial killer and you just want to get out with Hashem, so just go to bris and like the easy way out. So they say no. Actually, after you leave the bris, all your averas come back. But it was worth it just to have that one moment of being clean. It was all worth it for that. Just to have that one moment of clarity. So that itself is precious. That itself is an amazing thing. So it's the same thing with Kriya Shema. That we haven't, because we're bad in them. We're not tzaddikim. Okay, we still like our falafels. We still like our meat platters and our sushi, and we love going to the beach, and we love all the we're still part of the physical world. And even if there's no yeah, but I can say a bracha on my meat plate, and no, we just like physicality. We just like physicality, and that's normal because that's what we are. And that doesn't mean that we can't have a moment. We can't have a moment of clarity. Okay, and that's what it means. That's what it means not to have Yishuv Das. Not to have Yishuv Das is that we have moments of inspiration, we have moments of clarity, and it doesn't last. It doesn't last. So what does it mean to have Yishuv Das? Does Yishuv Das means that I am so in control that when I have a thought, that thought is never going to waver. To be unwavering, to be extremely strong, to be extremely steadfast in the things that I know, in the ideas in the clarity that I have, in those moments of das. Those moments that my das was able to make it through to my consciousness, I was able to take control, I was able to be in touch with what I really want. So then those thoughts are going to be strong. Those thoughts are going to be so strong that nothing is going to change my mind. And the truth is, because that's really what das is, because the difference between something which is just chachma and something which is das is that when I know something on level of chachma, so it's a piece of information. So okay, I came out, I calculated that this is the smart thing to do. But if you can convince me otherwise, so then okay, I'll switch my mind. I'll change my mind. I'll switch teams. And when I know something from the place of das, so that there is no such thing as talking me out of it. This is who I am. This is not a conclusion that I came to. This is what I stand for. And that's why when a person reaches something with place of das, Yishuv das means that Yishuv B'daiti means that nothing is going to change me. That I'm connecting to my thoughts, I'm connecting to my clarity in a way that nothing can take me away. Nothing can get me away from this. So now Nachman continues, and he gives an example. And he says that a person who has Yishuv Das, so the greatest thing about his Yishuv Das is that what is his Yishuv Das? He realizes shtus ha'olam hazeh. He realizes how stupid, what's a good translation of shtus? Foolish. How foolish and silly all of olam hazeh is. If a person would have Yishuv Das, then he would realize that it's all shtusim, it's all silly. And this is true for a lot of things. Like if a person, like they say that, I know somebody, he works in the Chava Kadisha, he works in the burial committee, and he told me that it gives you a different perspective. When you're dealing with death every day, so you think differently about life. People have these petty conversations, these petty arguments, and they care about these stupid things. Like, who cares? So he doesn't want to pay you exactly what you wanted to get. He doesn't want to. Somebody was complaining to me about the kumsitz that went too late, and he was having trouble sleeping, and I'm like, just grow up, come on,
just leave.
And you actually want to make a drama about this, something It's not going to be relevant until, and so you can have these arguments, and people have these feuds, and people have this stress, and people and you can ruin marriages, you can ruin friendships, you can ruin relationships between siblings because of what? Because of something so dumb. Something that just take a step back. You're going to die. In the grand scheme of things, this is so unimportant. It's so unimportant. Like with money in general. Money comes and money goes. You should never stress it. Never stress about money. Things. Once Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky said that in a year you're going to forget about this, right? So just pretend it's a year from now. And so we have something, we did something so humiliating, and we're just seeing it over and over and over in our heads, how the excruciating pain of thinking about how everybody's laughing at us and how everybody is noticing this, whatever, and nobody's thinking about it. Just calm down. Just move on. Just chill. Just calm down. And so this is it's all shtus. It's also all the things that people care about. It's all shtus. Oh, you have a car like this. Oh, you have a. Oh, you're did you go to that simcha? They had this kind of main dish, and just it's all shtusim. Just did you have a good time? That's the only thing that matters. And just to think about things with logic, and to think about things without all the superficiality. So if we would have Yeshiva Das, we would know that everything is just shtusim. And then he says a very particular example. B'frat, hatayva sheyesh lekama b'nei adam liyois meforsam ulahaning ha'olam v'linsaya ala medina. That there is a particular taiva, there's a particular lust that people have, and that is the desire to be a celebrity. This, says Rabbi Nachman, is the stupidest of all human desires. So he says that the people have this desire that they want to, his words are, the desire to be famous. They have desire to be famous, and he says, and they have a desire to control the world and to travel the country. So that's how he describes what it means to be a celebrity. Hakol, I told you about this guy that that his whole claim to fame is that he goes to every event that exists, and he takes videos of it, and whoa, you're so cool that you go to every event. And so that means Linsar al Medina. And so Hakol hevel ruas ruach. It's all shtusim. Shtus gadol be'emes ki be'emes ein ze shum tiny v'nachas ruach filo balam haza kilo malam yisrael v'yisraelis. And it's that there's nothing. You don't get anything from it. It's just full of pain. It's full of humiliation. And being famous is actually not good. Okay, so let's just try to figure that out a little bit. So Rabbi Nachman says that there's this crazy thing in human beings, that some human beings, they like status. And they like the concept. They would if only I could walk down the street and everybody says, "Oh my gosh, could I have your autograph?" Oh no, could I have a selfie with you? And so is autograph still a thing at all?
Yes.
It is? No, you're my age.
No one carries a pen anymore.
Is there such a thing as autograph?
No one has a
Selfie? Yeah, it's only selfie. Okay, so I want to walk down the street and people just want a selfie with me. That is going to make my day. That's going to make me feel that I am worth something. So where's this come from? So it's actually a real thing. It's actually a real thing. It's unfortunately there, and there was a guy named Adler. What was his first name? Abraham Adler. There was one of the Adlerian psychology. So he says that this is one of the greatest drives in the human psyche, and this desire for status. And so he says that where's it come from? It comes from a built-in feeling of inferiority. Because we all deal with inferiority, so the thing that helps us prove our worth to ourselves is status. Is the fact that people give us attention, affirmations. The fact that people confirm the fact that we exist. So that is what helps us to overcome our inferiority. But unfortunately, it doesn't actually work. Unfortunately, that the more that these celebrities, they're the most oppressed of all of us, and it really doesn't work because you constantly need to reconfirm And like just because you posted some kind of music video that got 5 million views, but that was last week, and maybe this week I'm already nothing. Maybe I'm already canceled. Maybe I'm already yesterday's news. I'm a has-been, and you need to. There is no. You can never quench this thirst for confirmation from the outside, because the only thing that's actually going to give you a sense of worth is only if the sense of worth comes from the inside. If you don't really believe that you're worth something, so even if 1,000, even if 1 billion people tell you that you're worth something, you're not really going to believe them, because you're only going to believe them for that moment. And the only way that you're actually going to really believe in yourself is only if you believe in yourself because you believe in yourself. So it actually doesn't work. Actually, it's part of our whatever. It's part of our messed up psyche. But it's a glitch in the system. It doesn't really get us anywhere. So it's part of it. So this desire to be famous. So this desire to be famous. So where is it? So it comes from that. It also comes from a desire to be in power. That's what Rabbi Nachman also says. Lahanigas medina, lahanigas olam. The more famous you are, the more celebrity you have. So the more influence you have, and people like power, which is also like a way of feeling that I'm worth something because I have power. If I have power, then I feel that I'm worth something. So he says that it's actually shtusim. It's actually just foolishness. Now, why is it that he talks about? Why is it that this is his idea? There's a lot of shtusim in the world. There's a lot of silly ideas that people have. There's people that think that their happiness is depending on having a Tesla. There's people that people that think that their success is in getting married. Their success is in a certain kind of career. There's like that to be to get this kind of level in the job. People have all different kinds of ideas of what it means to what it means to be worth something. So what I think that what's unique about this is that this is the complete opposite of das. That he found in the desire to be a celebrity, that this is the complete opposite of a person who's really connected to his inner das, because the desire to be a celebrity is completely about superficiality. It's completely about living a life which is not real, which is all about how other people perceive me. Okay, which is the complete opposite of being in touch with my inner self and being in touch with my inner voice. And so a person who's completely detached from his inner voice, he is the person that he wants to be a celebrity. That he wants that my life is all about my how I appear on social media, how many likes I get, how many shares I get with it, and it's all about how I'm perceived. It's not about who I really am. Okay, so that's what he saw in this, and that's what he's saying. That's what's shtusim about it. That's what shtusim about, because you never lived a day of your real life. That your entire life is really just fake. Your entire life is for somebody else. And he says something so profound. He says, "Gam kvar ochiach chazaka me'anashim ke'elu she'sav lis meforsa." No, so his talmidim, they didn't want to be rock stars. What did they want to be? They wanted to be famous rabbis. They wanted to be the Gadol Hador. Right, so the Yetzer Hara of a Talmid Chacham, he doesn't want to be prime minister. He wants to be Rav Yashiv. He wants to be the Gadol Hador. He wants to be the guy that when he walks into the room, everybody stands up. Everybody starts singing Yamei Ma Yamei Malach Tesev. I want to be that guy that, oh my gosh, did you hear? Rabbi so and so is here, and that's what does it to him. Okay, so he was telling his students. He saw in one of his students that he has this desire to be famous, this desire to be a famous rabbi. So he told him that how messed up it is to be a famous rabbi. You're going to be such a nebuch. You're going to be in such a bad situation. You won't be able to bench. You won't be able to bench properly. You won't be able to have a normal benching. Because everything you do, you're going to constantly be thinking about how other people are perceiving you. You won't be able to do anything just for Hashem. Menachem has a story about this Rebbe, about this so-called tzaddik that he had a custom that he would daven in his own room. There was some tzaddikim that they didn't because of this reason, they didn't want people looking at them. They didn't want, and so they had a private room where they were daven next to the minyan, and so And so the Rebbe Nachman has a story that the once there was the Rebbe was davening, and he was really, really like completely getting all involved and like very, 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 very emotional and very, very connected with the tefillah. And at that moment, so we heard like a little something rustle by the door, and so he realized that this Chassidim were so obsessed with him that they were trying to get a peek, to get a little glimpse of the holiness of the Rebbe in his holy avodah of davening to Hashem. That just, I know that if I would just be able to see the look on his face, or even just the back, God is there. It's like just such connection. I'll never be the same person. So he realized that they're looking at him, and so he said, they want to see. I need to really connect to Hashem. So we get even more into it, into the more devotion, and so the more that he does it, so then there's even more noise, and he realizes that they're probably all the different Hasidim, they're all fighting to get a glimpse into the keel. So he does more and more and more, and he's Mamish going crazy and he's jumping and then after 15 minutes of his deep avodah, so he pretends that he didn't know what was going on, and he opens the door and he sees that there was a cat. There's a cat scratching at the door. And so Nachman said that your whole avodah, you're mamish a grace ovid. You're mamish. You're serving the cat. you're serving this holy cat. So this is how pathetic it could be when we are living for others. This is how pathetic it could be when we're not doing things because it's the right thing to do. We're living because we like how it's perceived by others. And the truth is that this is ishtusim. It actually doesn't get us anywhere. And it's really not real. It's not going to bring us satisfaction. And the opposite of the shtusim is to be in touch with ourselves, to have yeshiva das. And yeshiva das is to have this silence, to have this place of quiet, to be connected to the silence of the night, to have the silence of routine, where things aren't so crazy, where things aren't so dramatic, and just be able to take time and to ask ourselves, what am I really looking for in life? And this is the higher consciousness that yeshiva das gives us. This is to really be able to address life from this, what we called before, a wise mind, from this place of a higher consciousness, from a place of being able to really ask myself, is this really what I want? Is this the real me? Is this really what I'm looking for? Is this really satisfying? Is this really my goals? And this is the greatest merit the person can have, is to be able to live with this consciousness, to be able to live with be married the chashbana, to be a person with yeshiva das, a person who's constantly calculating his life. And when a person is able to reach this place inside of him, so then Hashem really advises him, Hashem really guides him, and this is the Ruach HaKodesh that Rabbi Nachman talks about in Kuf Nun Vav, that when a person reaches this Malkum of Das, so Das is a reference to Ruach HaKodesh. The Das is a reference that Hashem speaks through us. Hashem speaks into our heart the advice that He wants us to have, but you only will hear what Hashem wants to tell you if you're able to clear your heart, if you're able to reach this point of silence, if you're able to have these moments of that I'm just sitting down, I'm just connecting with myself, I'm just connecting to what I really am. And this is the greatest thing that we can do. And this is the greatest thing. That's why Rabbi Nachman says that we need a great schia to be able to have these moments of silence, the moments to be able of self-contemplation. So I bless us all that we should do this. This is not just like an aspiration. This is not that we should be makabel on ourselves, that something that I want this to be part of my life. I want to take control of my life. I want to be in touch with my real self. I want to stop living a superficial life. I want to stop being chased, and I want to really live what I know that I should be and I could be, and I want to be true to myself. So I bless us all that we should mamish have these moments of hisbodedus and reach this real level of yeshiva das, and then we'll actually be able to be rulers of our life, to be controlling our lives, and we'll be able to succeed and live the kinds of lives that we deserve. B'ezrat Hashem. L'chaim, l'chaim.